still my soul, the waves of winds still know the voice who ruled them while he dwelt below. Good morning and welcome to the First Unitarian Society of Madison. My name is Kelly Crocker and I am one of the ministers here. Today I'm joined by my colleague, the Reverend Kelly Asprooth-Jackson, and by the worship team of Linda Warren, Heather Thorpe, and Daniel Carnes. Thank you to all those volunteering this morning, our greeters, ushers, hospitality providers, lay ministers, and sound technicians. At First Unitarian Society, we question boldly, listen humbly, grow spiritually, act courageously, and love unapologetically. If you are visiting us today, welcome. We're so very glad that you are with us. If you would like more information about our activities and programs, please stop by the welcome table after service today, which is through the doors and to your right, next to the elevator. We also hope that you'll be able to stay and join us for coffee hour immediately after the service, also right out in the Commons. And for those of you connecting with us virtually today, welcome to you as well. We're so very glad that you've chosen to be with us. We hope that you can take a moment after the service to watch the announcement slides to find out more about what's happening here at First Unitarian. And now we have a special video for our Valentine Jazz Soiree. We do hope you'll be able to join us. You can find out more on the website. And now, we invite you to join us in a moment of silence as we center ourselves and bring ourselves fully into this time, joining together once again in community. To all who are yearning for community,
come in, be among us.
To all who are just getting started, to all who long to go deeper, to all with tender places needing care.
Come in, be among us.
to the ones who have healed and have care to give, for those who are curious and hungry to learn, for those who know that they have something to teach.
Come in, be among us.
For the ones who are just beginning to suspect they might nurture others' becoming. To the young and the old, the innocent and the jaded, the fresh of mind and the deeply steeped, there is room here for each and every one.
Come in, be among us.
And we invite you now to rise in all the ways we do and join together in our words of affirmation as we light our chalice. As we light this flame of hope, may our congregation become a kaleidoscope of souls and people. In the presence of this flame, in me, in you, in us, is an invitation to sit at the table. May we tend our soul fire through these challenging and trying times to open the hearts and minds of all who enter our doors. And before we join together in song, if you'll take a moment to turn and greet those around you.
Please remain standing in body or in spirit and join together in singing our opening hymn, number 113, Where is Our Holy Church?
Well, now I would like to invite forward anyone who wants to come up and join me for a story today. Hello. It's good to see you. Thanks for being here. Hi, come on down. Get comfortable. I have a story for you today that is based on one of Aesop's fables. Have you ever heard of Aesop's fables before? Maybe? No? Okay. Well, that's okay. So, Aesop was a guy who lived a long time ago, lived in ancient Greece, and he's a very famous storyteller. We have a lot of stories from him. Almost all of them are about animals and this one is too. So, this is a story about a series of dinner parties, all right? It's about a fox. Fox is on the list, definitely. So, the first dinner party, appropriately enough, was hosted by the fox. The fox invited wolf and bear and monkey and stork to come over to Fox's house for dinner. Fox made soup and served the soup in big, wide bowls so that everybody had their own big, wide bowl of soup. Can you think of any issue with this serving arrangement? Yes. Yeah, exactly right. Yes, so for the wolf and the bear and the fox, for that matter, they got tongues they can sort of lick out of the bowls. And monkey, well, monkey's all set because monkey's got his own spoon and he's got hands. But the stork, sort of like this, right? Like, hard to get the soup with the stork's bill when it's all in this wide, flat arrangement. So the stork went home hungry, which is a terrible way to leave a dinner party. Very sad outcome for the stork. Now, a little while after that, stork had his own dinner party, and he invited fox, because fox invited him to his, and he invited pigeon and woodpecker and monkey. Apparently monkey's, the person who's on every list, it seems like. So, stork made stew and served it in, basically sort of like tall, thin flower vases, right? Which was just great for stork and for pigeon, for woodpecker, and monkey. Well, monkey could pick up his and sort of shoot it back. But fox didn't really get to eat anything because he could sort of lap at the top of it, but he couldn't get most of the stew that was in the vase. So fox went home hungry, which again is just a terrible way to leave a dinner party. So finally, the third dinner party, monkey. Monkey keeps getting invited out. He needs to pay it back. He needs to have some friends over for dinner, and he invited everybody. Stork and fox and wolf and bear and pigeon and woodpecker. Everybody got to come. And he was going to make, I settled on like a bouillabaisse, because I'm running out of obvious liquid-based meals. But he made bouillabaisse, and he said to all of his guests, this is a special type of party where I want you to bring whatever dish you would most like to eat out of. Bring your own. So everybody did. Some of them had those vases, some of them had wide bowls. I think bear had more like kind of a trough situation. The point was everybody got to eat out of what they liked best and frankly what worked for them. And so at that dinner party, nobody went home hungry. So, which one of these parties would you prefer to have gone to? The monkeys. Yes, I think it's the obvious choice. I agree. Yes. The monkeys. Also vote for the monkeys. Yep. Anybody? Okay, so monkey, let's show of hands. Monkey party, yeah. Okay. Stork. Also the stork, yeah, we're okay. We got hands, right? We can make it work. Yeah. We could eat with spoons, right? So we could get by at the fox party too. We're sort of the monkey in this situation, to be very honest with you. But I tell you what, I like the party where nobody goes home hungry. I like the party where everybody gets to eat. That's certainly my preference. Thank you very much for listening to my story, and now we're going to sing you to your classes.
Please rise in body and spirit and join together in singing hymn number 1002, Comfort Me. Comfort me,
Please be seated. Our inspiration today, a poem from Anne Lauterbach. People gather, they eat, drink, speak. They are among themselves happily. They celebrate this or that occasion. The cat does not like the cat door I installed. It is not transparent. I removed the flap. Now the cat goes through and opening. A distant sound, a small engine in the sky. I recall planes at night when I was a child. I feared they carried bombs. There is something called a transcendent table. That is, the table does not exist, but the idea does. Plato's table. I wish to be clear. Clarity is not the same as the literal. I object to the literal. What does this mean? We had best pay attention to what we care about. This is an economy of means. To observe that life pivots between care and neglect. My mother, an alcoholic, was cruel when she was drunk. She inhabits the pole of neglect. Care within a paradigm of neglect is tricky if there is no thought of a transcendent table.
At the start of J.R.R. Tolkien's famous novel, The Hobbit, his unlikely and erstwhile hero, Bilbo Baggins, lives a quiet, comfortable life in a pastoral, quasi-medieval land called the Shire. Bilbo is a hobbit, the titular hobbit of the story, in fact, a member of a small-statured branch of the human family that, at the start of the story, are renowned for only their love of good food, leisure, and the simple comforts of home. Then, the strangers come to town. A band of adventurers pour into Bilbo's home uninvited, there to recruit him to join their quest for treasure and glory. Now, hobbits are hospitable folk, but these interlopers weren't merely hungry and unlooked for. They are terribly poorly behaved. They make an utter mess of both his table and his house. They even sing a little song about it. Chip the glasses and crack the plates, blunt the knives and bend the forks. That's what Bilbo Baggins hates. Smash the bottles, burn the corks. This goes on, in fact, for another 2.5 verses. The scene comes at the beginning of a story that was originally written for children, a playful, spirited adventure tale. But because it is the prelude to the much longer, much darker, and more complicated Lord of the Rings trilogy, this is really the threshold of a world-spanning crisis, nothing less than an epic battle between the forces of justice and of tyranny. And it all begins with the upheaval of a complete disruption in the social expectations of table manners. Every society, of course, has its standards for polite behavior. In Japan, it is customary to slurp one's noodles noisily when eating them as a sign of satisfaction. In most Arab countries, it is considered very rude to let anyone else see the bottoms of your shoes. And of course, the standard of whether one ought to arrive early or on time or fashionably late for a social engagement varies wildly, not just from culture to culture, but also within them. I say this as a born Northeasterner who lived several years in California and now resides with you in the Middle West. 3 totally different standards. There is an order to every human group that is built on, not out of laws, but out of habit, precedent, and expectation. When we are sufficiently comfortable with and accustomed to these, customs, they become invisible elements in the background of life. We only notice them again when they begin to break down. In the film No Country for Old Men, two aging Texas lawmen commiserate in a diner about the sad state of the social fabric. Their conversation quickly drifts from the very serious and immediate problem of a killer on the loose chasing after a vast sum of money to what they see as the larger issues at play. One laments the sight of teenagers with green hair and bones in their noses. The other opines that once you stop hearing sir and ma'am, the rest is soon to follow. But it's not just old Texas lawmen who associate manners and the unwritten expectations of society with a peaceful and healthy social order. In differing amounts and for different definitions of good manners, this is actually a very common attitude. And I submit that we are, all of us, much more likely to feel attached to and defensive of the customs that somehow benefit or protect us personally than the ones that are irrelevant to us or antagonistic towards us. Complex table manners, just for one example. All that business about which utensil goes where and which one exactly is the shrimp fork may be very well suited to folks who can afford all those various forks. To those of more modest means, the rules might still feel important, maybe, but the chances are a good deal less. Still, practicing careful manners and following narrow standards of behavior meticulously has been a survival strategy for many people from marginalized groups. This includes those African American mothers who emphasize the importance of a neat, clean, respectable appearance to their children, because they know that their children will find themselves in dangerous situations throughout their lives, and that the very slight edge of conforming to social expectations about clothing, hair, or manner of speech could make the difference in those crucial moments. The same principle was at play in many of the arguments that were used to advance the cause of marriage equality in this country over the last few decades. That campaign emphasized the sameness, the normality, the respectability of same-sex couples. And indeed, same and mixed gender couples can be very similar to each other. But they can also be different. And in principle, this should have no particular bearing on whether or not any two people, any such people, deserve respect and the fundamental right to choose whom to commit their lives to. But in the moral universe of manners, difference is, at best, always suspect. The unwritten rules of any society, any group, may comfort some while they afflict others, or at least fail to protect them. Langston Hughes, one of the greatest poets of the Harlem Renaissance, wrote, "I too sing America. I am the darker brother. They send me to eat in the kitchen when company comes, but I laugh and eat well and grow strong. Tomorrow I'll be at the table when company comes. Nobody'll dare say to me, eat in the kitchen then. Besides, they'll see how beautiful I am and be ashamed. I too am America. The stifling and unjust expectations of the table eventually give way, as Hughes describes, and the old order is ended. A breakdown in good manners isn't always a crisis for those on the margins. Sometimes it is an opening into the possibility of liberation. The activist and motivational speaker Russell Lehman points out the ways in which the metaphors of host and guest can fall short when the goal of a community is to actually include all participants, to really and authentically offer the possibility of belonging to others. He says, inclusion isn't about being invited to sit at someone else's table. It's about building a new table together, where each person's voice and presence matter equally. The act of inviting often implies a subtle power dynamic, as if someone is granting permission to belong. But true belonging isn't something that can be granted. It's something that should emerge naturally from a shared understanding and a mutual respect. So the question isn't just about who is included, but how we include, and also why we are including. Now, there is a story that is told as a sort of a fable of the tension between manners and hospitality and what constitutes actually belonging in a given place with a given group of people. It goes like this. A child grows up in a household that emphasizes the importance of good table etiquette. His father has always been clear that elbows should never be placed on the table during a meal. Then, one day, a guest comes to dinner. The dinner is therefore a special event. The child, like everyone else, is on his best behavior. Midway through the meal, however, he sees that his father is resting his elbows on the table, contrary to all previous instructions. Shocked at this faux pas, but simultaneously thrilled at the prospect of correcting the person who normally corrects him, the child subtly attempts to chide the father without making any actual scene in front of company. The father receives the message, but answers it with a slow turn of his head, guiding the child's gaze to their guest, where he sees that the guest is also in that same unmannerly posture. The father had noticed this earlier and had mirrored his guest, so that this person would not feel judged or uncomfortable, so that he would know that he was welcome in their home. Hospitality, a true, broad, open-hearted welcome, often calls for a willingness to relax or even to discard the social expectations that normally prevail in order to truly make room for someone new. In Japan, the concept of deep hospitality is called omotenashi, which, according to some etymologies, is the compounding of two words. Omote, which means the surface or the front face of a thing, and nashi, which means none, nothing, or a thing that is without something. Combined, they indicate a lack of pretense, of being open towards someone else without the expectation that it will improve one's social standing or public face. Now, this is not to say that there is not and can never be any sort of reciprocity in the relationship between a host and a guest. The expectations of xenia, the hospitality of the ancient Greeks, placed all great duties on the host to feed and to shelter and clothe, even to ensure the safe passage of the guest. These obligations had to be met first, before the host asked even the most basic questions of their guest, even their name. But guests were expected to share stories from the distant points that they had traveled from, and they were also expected to return the same goodwill to others once they had reached home. The idea that it is specifically rude to place one's elbows on the table is said with very imperfect evidence to trace all the way back to medieval England. The theory goes that crowding at the common tables that meals were served on meant that elbows would inevitably intrude into the personal space of neighbors to the left and the right, or inadvertently dip loose sleeves into food or drink. And even if this is true, it just underlines how so much of social custom is arbitrary and something that evolves unpredictably over time. When I was in college, I was invited once to a feast that was organized by some friends in the medieval studies department. Now, while this was not a perfectly period-accurate event, some conventions of the era were observed, and one of these was the absence of forks. Everyone at the meal was expected to eat with their hands. However, it was explained to us that there were still customs back then that would have been considered uncouth to neglect, even while handling your meal barehanded. Certain fingers were to be reserved for certain proteins, as follows: fish, flesh, fowl. Mixing or mismatching any of these would have been heavily frowned upon. The fact that the thumb was the linchpin of all that eating and would touch every sort of meat on the plate apparently did not bother Western Europeans circa the year 1000 or so. When various religious and cultural systems imagine the world to come, whether that is an afterlife or a perfection of the universe that we are gradually moving towards, or both, many of them picture a great and a glorious meal. This metaphor can be found at times in the Black Christian church, and strains of it will appear in the hymn that we will sing to close the service. In ancient Norse paganism, the honored dead feast and drink eternally in the halls of Valhalla. There's also a Jewish tradition that imagines a meal at the end of time, when all of the dead, now returned to life, will break bread together. Behemoth, the biblical monster that represents all the hazards and natural disasters to be found on land, and Leviathan, the equivalent biblical monster of the sea, both will be slain because suffering and danger will be gone from the world. They will be served to the righteous at this feast. All of the woes and strife that are synonymous with the human experience on earth will be transmuted into nourishment and fellowship. And there is yet another story of an afterlife banquet. You may have heard it before. The story gets told in a number of different voices and attributed to a number of different cultures and traditions. It's probable that this is one of those that just occurred naturally in a variety of different places without either one knowing about the other. The earliest version that I could find that had a specific source credits it to Chaim of Romshishok, an itinerant Hasidic rabbi. Whatever the version, the story always has a good place and a bad place. Heaven and hell for religious systems that have those ideas, or something like them. Judaism doesn't actually, not really, but Rabbi Chaim's version employs the terms anyway. First, the bad place. The people are seated at long tables, set with many delicious foods, much more than anyone could ever want. But their arms have all been disabled in some way. Again, in Chaim of Romshashak's account, wooden splints have been wrapped around them so that their elbows cannot bend. They have spoons, but these are so long and unwieldy as to compound the problem with the elbows. Even bent all the way backwards, the spoon is too long to reach the mouth. Consequently, the people in hell are starving, and the vision and sound of their anguish is terrible to behold. In heaven, on the other hand, the outcome is completely different, although the circumstances remain the same. The same tables, the same food, the same unbending arms, and the same overlong spoons. But every stomach in heaven is full. Every person there is satisfied, because the inhabitants of that place make it their constant practice to feed each other. Now, I am much more confident about the long, long list of possible afterlives that I think are especially unlikely than I am about the idea that any specific one might prove to be true. But I think about that common idea of a meal of the righteous at the end of time with regularity. Sometimes when I am struggling to find patience or grace for someone in my life, I imagine myself at the banquet table. I look to my left and my right, scanning for their face until I find it. I imagine the gladness of good company, the relief from pain and struggle of the here and now. I imagine the look of joy on their face. In that place, there is no quarrel between us. We are all seated at the same table together. I do the same thing sometimes when I am thinking of someone that I have lost, and I want to remember them well. The work of religious community is to imagine the world made whole, and to do our utmost to put that imagined wholeness into practice here. We are not seated at the welcome table, but it is our work to imagine what it could be like to be there, and to try to treat ourselves and each other with grace and kindness in the way that we might naturally feel if all of the woes and worries of the earth fell away. We know, you and I, that we see with regularity, week after week, strangers come through our doors to find out if they might be able to belong here, to look for a seat that might have been prepared for them. It is my favorite thing about our decidedly garbled reputation in the larger culture that so many people who feel lost or lonely or unwelcome anywhere else think there might be a place for them here. In this era that we are in, I think we also know that we should expect the tide of such wanderers and refugees only to increase. I believe we want to be hospitable. I believe we want to be welcoming. And I believe that we only live fully into being those things when we set aside the expectations of our table manners and church etiquette, where we encounter the stranger on their terms, mirror our elbows on the table with them, and spoons in hand, learn over and over again how to feed each other.
invite you now into this time of giving and receiving, where we give freely and generously to an offering which sustains and strengthens the work of our community here, and also that of our outreach offering recipient, who this week is the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People Dane County Branch. The NAACP is a civil rights organization formed in 1909 as an interracial endeavor to advance justice for African Americans. Its mission is to achieve equity, political rights, and social inclusion by advancing policies and practices that expand human and civil rights, eliminate discrimination, and accelerate the well-being, education, and economic security of Black people and all persons of color. Baskets are being passed here in the room for your gifts. You can also donate directly from our website, and you'll see on the screen the text to give information as well. We thank you for your generosity and your faith in this life we create together. Each week we gather, bringing with us in our hearts the joys and the losses of our days. We share them here, knowing they are held in support and in love. Jane Walland and Lorna Aronson ask us to light a candle of memory and gratitude to honor the life of longtime FUS member John Aronson, who died on Thursday, February 6th at UW Hospital. We hold in our hearts John's wisdom, tenacity, hearty laugh, and sardonic sense of humor. And we send our love to Jane and Lorna and David as they miss him today. And we light a candle for our world, a global prayer for peace, and a prayer for all who are suffering. May this flame be for all who are unemployed, underemployed, forced from employment, for migrants and all seeking refuge in harsh lands, for all whose rights are threatened, for all who experience discrimination, violence, injustice, for all who are struggling today, for all who feel unsafe, unseen, unloved. And we light a candle for the love that remains through it all, a love that heals, transforms, holds on, and a love that lives always within, among, and beyond us. And we invite you now into an attitude of meditation and prayer with these words from Nancy MacDonald Ladd. We gather in community each week in a state of conflict for our very souls, a state both expansively hopeful and restrictively confined. We are hopeful that we might rise to meet a new day, hopeful that each and every one of us might encounter the sacred within, among, and beyond every human soul, and hopeful that such an encounter might work through us to topple the idolatries of our age. And yet we also gather as a people who are not yet free, a people confined and contained, because in this culture of division built upon the pain of people at the margins, we hold our love too tightly, putting our love in boxes with qualifications. I will love you if, I will see you if, I will bear the truth of my soul alongside you if and only if you agree with me, you look like me, you act like me, you sing like me, you wear your gender on your sleeve and produce it upon demand. I will love you and will meet you in the sanctuary of our hearts if and only if you give me evidence of your good liberal virtues. If and only if. We are imprisoned by these ifs and these only ifs. We are confined by the smallness of our loving. And so today, let our hopefulness intersect with our conviction. Let our willingness to love beyond our expectations or experience break down our long-held barriers. Let our willingness to be honest about the hardest questions open us to new truths. May there truly be more love with no labels and no binary and no preface and no qualification and no arithmetic and no limit. May there be more love to liberate us all. And may we keep on today and every day until we find it and share it inch by precious inch with one another and the world. Amen.
There is a love holding us. There is a love holding all that we love. There is a love holding all. We rest in this love. Please rise in body and in spirit and join together in singing our closing hymn, number 407, We're Gonna Sit at the Welcome Table. We're gonna sit at the welcome table. We're gonna sit at the welcome table one of these days, hallelujah. We're gonna sit at the welcome table. Gonna sit at the welcome table one of these days. All kinds of people around that table. All kinds of people around that table one of these days. Hallelujah. We all kinds of people around that table. Gonna sit at the welcome table one of these days. No fancy stuff at the welcome table. No fancy stuff at the welcome table one of these days. Hallelujah. No fancy stuff at the welcome table. Gonna sit at the welcome table one of these days.
May you be invited to the party. May you be asked to dance. May you be amazed to learn that your own precious heart already knows and leaps to the song. And in this moment, whirling in the expansive affirmation of all creation, an embodiment of the divine's boundless love, may you turn and face the door, arms outstretched, to sing in wide welcome the ever-changing song of togetherness to those who have yet to discover that they too belong here. Blessed be, go in peace, and please be seated for the postlude.